Now we are going to discuss the basis of power. Earlier we have learnt about different interpersonal sources of power which exist in an organization and what are the consequences of those. Now let us look at the three basic resources of power as identified by Elzioni. Elzioni identifies three basic resources of power which exist in an organization. One is coercion, two is remunerative power and three is normative power. By coercion, it is the ability to manipulate physical sanctions. When we were discussing about coercive power, it is something similar to that. By having coercive power, the organization is able to manipulate the physical sanctions. If you do not perform, your salary will be deducted. If you do not perform, you will not go to the next level. So, by defining these sanctions, the organization is able to get the works done. The second aspect of power is remunerative power. It is something related to what we have discussed earlier, which is called as reward power. Similar to reward power, remunerative power is ability to manipulate the material reward. In reward power, we have learned that both monetary and non-monetary incentives are used. So, the organization identifies when to give the monetary rewards and when to give the non-monetary rewards like recognition, certificate, award. So, in remunerative power here, Elzoni defines that the ability to manipulate material rewards. It is only used to give incentives in monetary terms. What is normative power? Normative power is the ability to manipulate symbols including medals, gadgets, certificates. By going to the next level, you are given a medal. You are given a kind of a badge which you use. By looking at that badge, the persons are able to identify which level you have gone to, what is the role, what is the level of you. So, that by that one is able to identify what kind of power exists within you. So, now let us understand the power sources at different levels. We look at the power sources initially from the top management level. As we have discussed, in any organization setup, the power flows from top to bottom. In traditional management theories, you would have understood how the top management, the CEO of the organization, the head of the organization orders and the employees obey those orders and perform. But then we have discussed with reference to the present day context of the organization, the power flows both ways, top bottom and bottom top. So, it is not necessary only, it always flows from top. Top is able to only define and influence the targets of the organization, and the power vests with the employees of the organization to complete those tasks. The power sources for top management are formal position. Because you are being placed in such a position, you are having that kind of power by which you are able to get things or get the task done from the resources of the organization. By occupying formal position, you are able to find out or you are able to get the things done in the organization by being in that formal position. You are able to also control resources which are existing in the organization. You are able to use those resources only when it is required. So, you are because of his position, you are able to control the management of the organization, either in terms of recruitment, either in terms of finances, either in terms of material. You are able to control those resources only when it is required. You are able to use those resources and control the decision premises, because of your power, because of your formal position, you are being authorized. So, you are able to control the decision and you are able to decide things based on the power given to you by the organization. And you are also having network centrality because the whole power is vested in you, the power is centralized within you. So, you are able to use that and you are able to get things done, and it is possible for you to have that kind of network by using that position. What are the power sources of middle management? The top management defines the targets, the goals of the organization because of the power vested in them. What does the middle management do? Middle management has to get the things done. They are able to activate the task defined by the top management and get the things done. So, their role is to get the things done, their role is to get the task done, and they are supposed to activate the task defined by the top management. And the power is given to middle management to use the activities relating to these tasks. So, the power lies within the middle management to get the things done. And they use the network for interaction. Whatever the resources are given to them, whether it can be financial, it can be in terms of employees, in terms of the material being provided to them, the middle management uses that power, uses that network for interaction to get the things done in the organization. What are the power sources for lower management? The personal sources of the lower management is they have the expertise, they have the effort, and they are being persuaded and manipulated so that they are able to achieve those targets within the organization. So, the position sources are, if you have expertise, the physical location, the information flow, the access, all these play a very important role in the organization. So, for the lower management, they have to identify the expertise and how much effort they have to use to get the things done and persuade them, manipulate the employees to complete those tasks. So, those are the power which are given to the lower management which exist in an organization. So, let us look at the consequences of power on the power holder. There are different types of people which exist in the organization with different personalities. So, people with strong need for power, what happens to them and what are the consequences of that? They are motivated to acquire more power. So, people with strong need of power, they always go on, they are motivated so that they are given more tasks and they are able to achieve more targets for the organization, thereby the effectiveness and the efficiency of the organization goes up. So, they are motivated to acquire more power. They are satisfied only with the job only when they are able to influence others. So, because of their strong need for power, they are able to motivate or influence others to work for the organization. And their commitment to the job and responsibility and authority are increased. They are committed to their job when responsibility and authority are increased within their position. So, they use this power for the benefit of the organization. People with strong need for power, they are able to use that only for the benefits of the organization. And people with weak desire to power, there are also people who exist in an organization who are not interested in obtaining more power. They use their power only when it is needed. They are motivated to relinquish power. They don't want the different positions. They just want to carry out the tasks given to them, complete those tasks. Not very enthusiastic. They are not enthused to do more for the organization because they are not interested to obtain much power. So, they use their power only to extent required for minimum level of job performance. There are also people with too much power. So, what happens when they have too much power? They use that power in a very negative manner. not for the benefit of the organization. They use to disrupt the organization in a negative manner. If you disrupt the organization, you can also disrupt the organization in a positive manner by using innovation, by using different kinds of methods for the benefit of the organization. But people with too much power, what do? They abuse power for self-interest. They only think of themselves. They don't think of the benefit for the benefit of others. They only think of themselves and their growth, not the growth of the others. So they devalue the less powerful colleagues and subordinates. And it also ruins the organization when you use absolute power. So when we discuss about the power which has to be used in an organization, you have to use power only when it is required to motivate and increase the satisfaction of the employees, and the employees are committed to the organization. So the more we have people with strong need for power for the benefit of the organization, that helps the organization to grow and become efficient and effective within the society. Then we look at the dynamics being played in the organization between information and power. Information plays a very important role in organizational power. Information power is based on control over the flow and interpretation of data given to others. The more the information you have for the benefit of the organization, then you are able to control over the flow and interpretation of given data given to others. So information and power has to go in hand. You cannot overflow the information that relates or it affects the performance of the organization. So information and power has to go, both have to go in a smooth manner for the benefit of the organization. So power through control of information. Don't provide information. We were just discussing the overflow of information also results in a very bad, it has bad effects on the organization. Sometimes it may not be true. Sometimes you are not able to communicate in an effective way by providing information, too much information. You are not able to control that information. Only when it is required you are supposed to communicate that information to the employees of the organization. And how the information has to be dispersed in the organization. So you have to, depending on the situation, you have to use and inform the employees what is beneficial for the organization. So you can use different formats to provide this information and also use control mechanisms by deliberating on that. So you can use wheel formation. You can tell one person, one of the managers, and the manager provides that information to other departments, and the other departments provide that information to their employees. So it can be given to a product manager provides that information to HR moves it to the material manager, like that, different managers are being provided the information. So the information can be centralized. Then you can also use all channels of information. You can decentralize information. It did not have to move only from one person. In wheel information, it moves from one person to 3 or 4 different types of people who play an important role in the organization. In all channels information, the information flows in different directions. Everybody is informed. So when you have higher information control, it is beneficial for the organization. And low information control, it all detrimental to the organization, because people are not informed what exactly is benefiting the organization. What are the different contingencies of power which exist in an organization? The conditions under which power bases generate power are called contingencies of power. They are substitutability, centrality, discretion, and visibility. Let us look at each of them. What is substitutability? When the resources are not there to perform a certain action in the organization, to carry out certain tasks, so alternative resources are provided to you. So, that is called as contingencies of power. The person who has the power of resources is able to substitute those resources with alternative resources. That is one of the contingencies of power which exist in an organization. So, by using substitute alternative resources, you are able to achieve those targets in the organization. Then you have centrality. What is centrality? The degree and the nature of interdependence between the power holder and others, thereby meaning the power and the counter power. So, the head of the organization or the manager of that particular department holding that position is able to influence and get the things done, and similarly the employees perform those tasks, carry out those tasks, and they have the counter power because of their expertise and the skills being provided to them or in them to complete those tasks at the target. That is exactly how it plays in an organization. Then you have discretion power. Discretion power is the freedom to make decisions without referring to a specific role or receiving permission from someone else. So, use this kind of power in the organization in very, very rare cases when it is required. When the organization is being affected by some low targets or not able to come out with certain new products, then you use your discretionary power and define or redefine the tasks, redefine the goals for the organization. So, use this discretion power in a very, very rare manner so that the organization does not get affected. Then other aspect is the visibility. Visibility is power does not flow to unknown people in the organizations. Employees gain power by making their sources of power known to others. So, the power is very clearly defined in the organization. When we say power here, it means the authority. You are given job description, you are in that formal position, and by being in the formal position, this is what your role is. This is what you have to perform. This is what you can use. These are the resources you can use. So, it is visible, it is clearly defined, everybody knows about it. So, it is always better for the organization to define so that employees are able to gain power by making their sources of power known to others. Let us look at the strategic contingencies that contribute to departmental power, like dependency, financial resources, centrality, substitutability, cope with uncertainty. All these are vested in department power. The dynamics of power is based on distribution. How you distribute your resources, the financial resources, the material resources, the human resources. It is all based on the distribution of the power. So, the dynamics of power plays very important role on these aspects, how you distribute the resources in the organization. The dynamics of power play an important role in dependency also. Power and the counter power, how one is dependent on the other to achieve the goals of the organization. So, it plays very important role. A is dependent on the B to carry out those targets, and B is dependent on the A so that his skills, his commitment to the organization gets increased. Uncertainty, how uncertainty plays a very important role in the organization. So, how you deal with the uncertainty which is prevailing in the organization. It can be financial crunch, human resources crunch, how you deal with that. That plays a very important role when in the organization. By using the power, you are able to control the situation. You are able to control the uncertainty which is prevailing in the organization. What resources to be used, where to cut, all this you are able to do. And then compliance. People generally obey the orders of the management so that they are able to perform in the organization. And by doing that, they are able to move further in their careers. So, how to use compliance, when to use compliance, all this depends on the dynamics of power and where the situation, it depends on the situation. Then you have power indicators. What are the power indicators? How to use these indicators in an effective way? When to use the positive reinforcement? When to use negative reinforcement? By showing the capacity of you. When to use all this? These are the power indicators which prevail in the organization. The reputation, the symbols, the medals, the certificates, by using this, how you are able to improve the performance of the organization. Then determinants of power. What are the determinants of power? When to use the power to get the things done in the organization. What are the resources to be used? All these play an important role in an organization. And consequences of power. You have to understand, if you use a particular type of power in a situation, how it affects. When to use reward power, when to use coercive power, when to use expertise power, and what are the consequences it has. All these different sources of power play a very important role in the dynamics of an organization.